John has practiced. I know that's going to be a question. We'll see how he responds, and that will determine if he'll be able to play on Wednesday. It's looking like he will, but obviously we have another day of preparation to find out, to see.
What guides that? Is it how he feels, what the doctors say? I mean, it's both.
There's no swelling, no pain, and more so right now what the trainer says, depending on just how he feels and things like that.
How did he look at practice?
Looked okay. Obviously, he hasn't played basketball in 6 weeks, so there's rust. We were able. Today was the first day we did 5-on-5 up and down, and so obviously he's not in the type of conditioning that he would be in if he had been playing. So that's a challenge. But he did some good things.
Jeff, obviously it'd probably be limited minutes, but
Yeah.
How would he change what you guys look like, what you can do?
Well, it's an adjustment for all of us. I mean, we've been going. John, we started practice on Monday, the 26th of September. He got hurt that Friday, so I think that's maybe the 30th. He's not been with us since the 30th of September, so we've gotten used to playing a certain way without him. Now we have to adjust, and then he has to adjust, and that takes time. And I know that it's going to take time. I mean, obviously he gives us a guy that we can throw the basketball inside to, and he can score. He can draw a lot of attention. But how well will he be able to do that right away? Because of the rust, because of the rhythm of a game, because of the timing. When you haven't played, I mean, he just got out of the brace. I think it was last Monday. And so before that, he wasn't walking, like without a brace where it was locked out. And so that takes time to get your rhythm back and to get all of that stuff back. So we know that it's going to take time, but he provides us with, obviously a big body, a guy that we can throw the ball into, and he can score, he can draw attention. Hopefully that gets some of our shooters, a little bit more open. And then hopefully he's able to score down there.
And then just looking at the matchup you guys have Wednesday against their front court, I mean, even if he's on a limited set of minutes, how big is that just to have him go up against their big guy, Dickinson, who's a star, going as opposed to going against him without your top player?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly helps. I mean, in order to play against a guy like him, you need bodies, because he's a gigantic body. And he's very good, very good. He's skilled, he's physical, he's proven it, so he's established, and he's their best player, and so everything goes through him. So, for us, without John, our whole front court is inexperienced on the college level. They have 2 games, but they haven't faced anything like this. And so it gives us a guy that has some experience to go up against that. But it's certainly still an unbelievable challenge for us.
Jeff, you play, I think, almost every other night through the month of November.
Yeah.
Do you adjust practice in any way? How do you approach all that?
Yeah, we're adjusting things in practice, the timing, how long we go, when we take our days off. We're still, because we're in school, we got to give 1 day off. The rules are complicated. It's hard to follow them. I think next week, if I remember right, we play Sunday, Tuesday, Friday. And so then you got to you got to figure out when's your day off next week. And so for me, I go by feel, just kind of, what I feel, where our guys are. But there's definitely some adjustment. You're not on the floor that long. The guys that play a lot of minutes, you try to keep them off their feet. The guys that haven't played a lot of minutes or aren't, you try to get them workouts, so when they do get in there, their cardio is still up. It's easy to get out of shape, and so you do have to make some adjustments.
Do you like playing a lot of games in a short period of time?
Yes and no. You definitely want time to practice, but the way our schedule set up this year, and when we got the conference games, and I think we're playing 2 conference games before Christmas, maybe 3. It's 2, okay. And so, you know, this tournament that we're in, it laid out that way this year.
Jeff, what are some of the benefits that you guys have, playing in events like the one you're playing in New York, where you're getting to see, some top tier competition, top tier individual talent?
Yeah, it's something you try to do every year to get, to be a part of these MTEs. When I took the job, one of the goals for me was to have a chance to play in New York every year, thinking about the old Big East days and, where this program always, whether it was St. John's, the New York area. So whether it was St. John's, whether it was Seton Hall, Rutgers, in that area, New York, New Jersey, you got up there, obviously the Big East tournament. There's a large alumni base of Pitt people up there. It's an area where this program is, in the past has recruited well. I always think it's something magical about playing in New York, playing in the city. So that's something that has been a focus of ours. But to have a chance to be a part of these tournaments like this and to play against this level of competition on neutral courts is something I think that's really important.
Ever think of having one here?
In the city of Pittsburgh?
Or
No,
somewhere?
I haven't. We talked about it a little bit during the COVID year because a lot of those tournaments postponed for a year because there couldn't be any fans. So we thought about it. I think Louisville had one at their place where they had a bunch of games, but that's not something I like doing it on a neutral court and playing against really good opponents.
So after your game, do you plan on just having your team stick around and watch the second game? Considering no.
We'll get out of there. Whoever's scouting will stay and watch it, live scout it.
You said about it being there's a kind of magic to basketball in New York. Do you have what was your first memory of going there, playing there? Like when did you first sort of get a sense of what it's like?
The first time I played there, I think I was maybe a senior in college. I think I think it was the preseason NIT, the semifinals and the finals, which was at Madison Square Garden, and it was just mad. You hear about it, especially the Garden being the mecca of basketball and all the performers that have performed there, whether it's athletes, entertainers, and to have a chance to play there. When I went back and worked at Duke, Coach had a philosophy when he was coaching that Duke took a home game. They had a home game every year up in New York. So we played there pretty much every year, I think, the 7 years that I worked there. And so, about the past players, the people who have played there, whether it was the old Big East tournaments or the legendary St. John's games, when they were playing, whether it was Pitt, Georgetown, Syracuse, those games that were there, obviously the NBA guys that have been there. It's a magical place, and the Barclays is getting that. It doesn't have the rich history of the Garden, but anytime you're a home court of one of the best players in the world, Kevin Durant, it's pretty special.
Do you feel like your team has had any, or have you noticed maybe any more motivation at practice after the loss against West Virginia, or are they just kind of handling it in stride right now?
Yeah, we're handling it in stride. I mean, look, we didn't play like we were capable of playing. They had a lot to do with that. It's a great learning experience for us, and we got to move on. Just like when we beat, UT Martin, you got to move on. After we go back and we evaluate it and we watch it with them and we talk about it, that's over with, and you got to move on. So I would hope that after 2 games we wouldn't need any extra motivation. That we would be motivated enough that we have a long season in front of us. But most importantly, we have an unbelievable opportunity in front of us with playing in a tournament. We have a chance to win a championship early in the season, and that's something that we're really, really excited about.
On Friday, you guys announced the 2023 recruiting class with Jalen and Marlon and Carlton. What do you see each of those guys bringing to the program?
They're all talented. I think they all have big upside. They're all unbelievable kids. They all wanted to be a part of what we're doing here. I've had a chance. Marlon was the first one to commit to us, and He's been committed for a while. I think his upside is really, really high. He can shoot it. He's got really good size for a wing. Comes from a great program and an unbelievable coach. So we know he's going to be coached hard. We know he's going to get better, and he's going to be coming from a great environment with a great family. So, excuse me, really excited about him. With Carlton. I've known him for a while. I've known his father for a while. And I had a chance to see him for the first time, not this past summer, but last summer. Was really impressed with him. Watched him, a couple more times, became even more impressed with him. Again, I think he has a big upside. Is a worker, just like Marlon, just like Jalen. Loves the game, loves the competition, loves the process of becoming good. He had a great summer, not a good summer, had a great summer, played at a very, very high level. Look at him as more of a combo guard, but a guy that's going to continue to get better and better. Jalen, I've known Jalen probably since he was 4 or 5. When I was the head coach at Oklahoma, his dad was a part of one of the better AAU programs there in Houston, the Houston Hoops, which we recruited very hard. So I got to know his dad and would see Jalen around the gym all the time. It was funny, watching him this summer. I watched him. He was playing against somebody else, and I was watching him. I couldn't believe it was him. I couldn't believe it was Lil J. And after the Peach Jam was over with, I remember I called his dad, who I stayed in touch with, and I just said, your son's really good. Would your wife let him leave Houston? Like, I know how close their families are, how close their family is. And he said, we're just looking for the best situation. So we jumped in, built the relationship. And again, he's a point guard, high upside, really good IQ, loves to compete, loves to play. So excited to have those guys, excited to have them signed. Don't take that for granted, what we've been through. And excited they want to be a part of it.
Jeff, just looking ahead to your next opponent, I know we talked about Dickinson, but just Michigan as a whole, just looking for your thoughts on their program and what Coach Howard does up there.
Yeah, Juwan's done a great job. I mean, it's a really cool thing. I remember, I was headed to a meeting downtown, and he called me when he was getting ready to go in for his interview. I've known Juwan. I played against Juwan, and so I've known him for a while. He was part of the Charlotte team when my dad was there as an assistant, so he knew my father. A really good guy. I think it's one of the coolest things for him to be able to go back to his alma mater when you look at the history that he has there. I mean, I was a fan of the Fab Five. I think every young black kid was back at that time. You wanted to kind of be like them, and just what they meant for fashion, for cred, and all of that stuff. And I think he's done a really good job there. And they get good players, they develop them. They have a really good basketball team right now. They hit transfer portal. It's probably a really cool thing, the coach's sons. That's pretty awesome. I was watching tape and I saw a play where Jet passed it to Jace and Jace hit a 3, and I just can't imagine how cool that is as a father to be a part of that. And so have a lot of respect for him, a lot of respect for that program.
Do you think Juwan still carries, like you said, the Fab Five mean a lot to black people across the country, and seeing him in the coaching role, like I could just say as a person myself, when I saw him did that, I was excited for that. Do you think that's something that's you've seen kind of talk more about, not just I guess in media, but like among coaches?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if you're around, I would imagine, and I have no idea how old you are, but your age, my age,
33.
like you grew up, if you like basketball during that time, especially if you're a person of color, like you like the Fab Five, you like UNLV, that,
Right.
90 and 91 UNLV team, like
Georgetown?
you love Georgetown, and so they were just part of the culture. And so I do think, some now there's going to be some coaches that hate on him too, because he didn't quote unquote pay his dues. You know what I mean? Like he got, and things like that. I've learned just so you can't worry about those things. He's got a job to do. and he's done a good job there. And you know, I think it helps. I mean, he's at a place where, you know, he bled, like he gave a lot to that program. It meant a lot to that program. When you look at that class that was put together, he was the first. He was the guy to kind of help recruit the rest of the other four. And so I know what it means for him to be the head coach at Michigan. I know how much, you know, that jersey meant to him, that program means to him, that university means to him. So it's pretty cool to see it.
Have you had a chance to start scouting either Arizona State or VCU? Do you not even worry about that?
I haven't watched one set. I watched a little bit. I was flipping through my app and I saw a little bit of Arizona State there last. I can't remember who they played, but I saw a little bit of them, just maybe about 25 seconds. I think it was the last 25 seconds of regulation. I watched that. Didn't watch the overtime, but I don't know much about either one. I know both coaches. I know they're both good programs, but I don't really know much about this year's teams from each one.
Thank you.